I'm here to answer 100 of the most common questions. Ready? Rapid fire. Are real estate agents actually overpaid in today's market? Yes, 100%. Most are useless. I think a vast majority do nothing. I don't think the market's going to be here forever. I think there are a slight few that are probably underpaid because they add more value than they get, but a vast majority of real estate agents overpaid. Should buyer's agent exist anymore? No, I don't think so. I think most people, if we think about it logically, in order for a buyer to see a home, they need to get the seller to approve. Then they need to find the schedule of the buyer agent. Then they themselves need to get in there. Too many steps. I don't think it's necessary. We have technology to make it easier. Sorry, I'm not going to make everyone happy. However, I don't think they're needed. I think consultant on the buy side is probably needed. I think it's important to have a neutral party who's there to tell you what the house is worth so you know if you're overpaying or not, and you cannot bank on the appraisal. Is 6% commission model basically dead? It depends. I see it hugely transforming. A lot of times people are now negotiating, hey, this is how much I'm making. Let's see how much the buyers make if we're talking about a listing. Are ARF market deals mostly BS marketing? No, they exist. You need to know the right people. However, I don't always think they're most ethical. A lot of off-market deals have to do with people who who are in bad positions or in a bad financial place and kind of need to get it gone, or they're taken advantage of. Miss 80-year-old Betty bought her house for $20,000 in 1998, and now a wholesaler comes in and offers her $100 when it's worth $300. She doesn't know any better. Is owning rental property still worth it in 2024? Absolutely. Yes, totally they are. You should absolutely own a rental. Is house hacking overrated? No, I think it's not done enough. If by house hacking you mean I buy a duplex, live in half, rent out the other half, have a tenant pay for it, no. It's the best thing you can do as a first-time home buyer. It's fantastic. Are Airbnbs ruining neighborhoods or saving them? We're out in Cleveland, Ohio. We don't have a lot of Airbnbs, so it's not really ruining neighborhoods. I don't know about other areas. Is it unethical to buy a house just to rent it? No. I think it's actually intelligent. I'd call it investing. Do flippers actually add value or just inflate prices? For the most of the time, a flipper does not add value. In fact, I would make a statement as far as most flippers buy it at such a good price. When you buy is when you make money. They buy it at such a good price that if they were to just buy the house and then put it on the open market, a vast majority of flippers would probably make just as much money right then and there without having to do the headache. Now, I don't want to badmouth all of them. I'm sure there's a few good, high-quality flippers that are adding value, but for the most part, no. Is real estate the best path for wealth for the average person? I think that real estate is typically the biggest investment people have, and buying a responsible purchase and being responsible with it is absolutely a great idea. So to answer the question, is it the best path of wealth? It's probably one of the biggest investments people make. Are investors pricing out first-time home buyers? Is that a myth? Probably area dependent. Look, Economics 101, you have a supply-demand curve. If you have more people trying to buy, which they're buying in low-income areas and lower price points, then yes, you're going to add more demand, therefore increase the price. Is renting sometimes smarter move than financially owning? Very rarely. If I'm going to be at his place for a super short period of time that I know of, fine, I'd rent. Other than that, it doesn't make much sense. Should zoning laws be loosened everywhere? I think it's the city or township's discussion, and I think decision, and I think it's up to them. Should it be loosened? In my city, I don't want it loosened. Maybe someone else does in theirs. Are HOAs necessary or just legalized tyranny? Okay, I think huge misconception. Look, when you're buying an HOA, buying a house in an HOA, it's not always necessarily, oh, it's nothing. I think it's very important that people read the bylaws, understand what the restrictions are. Here's an example. Client bought a house. They loved it. Everything was great. 2 months later, they get a letter in the mail saying that they're not allowed to park their company vehicle outside. It was a regular car with just a sticker on it. Now they have to take this blank sticker and put it on top of it. I think HOAs are fine if you know what you're getting yourself into and if you're willing to read the rules. If you're not, then don't live in an HOA. You're setting yourself up for headaches. Is renting sometimes, we already talked about that one. Is new construction worse quality than older homes? I think the average new construction home is probably worse than the average old home. However, I think the luxury construction of today is much nicer than the older luxury. Not necessarily the craftsmanship, but the stuff we can do with modern material is way cooler than the stuff it was back in the day. Are cash buyers bad for the housing market? No, I think it's a necessity. Is home ownership becoming a luxury good? No, I think home ownership is not taught enough. I think financial literacy in school is a joke. Home ownership should be your number one priority. As soon as you get your job and whatnot, my advice would be start saving and buy yourself a house. It's the biggest investment you can make. Why rent that's going to become a fixed sunk cost forever? Get out of that and start buying your own property. Should short-term rentals be banned in residential areas? No, I mean, I don't really see how it affects much. Is real estate local or just outdated thinking? No, I think it's very applicable. Are real estate TikTok gurus helping or hurting buyers? Everyone's different. There's some good ones out there. There's a lot of bad ones. Here's my challenge, though. If someone is selling courses on how to buy a home, it's probably not Not necessary. There's so much good information out there that's free. Save your money. Is a 30-year mortgage financial trap? No, 30 years is reasonable, but here's my advice to that. Typically, a 15-year mortgage versus 30 is not that big of a difference in payment. Always ask your loan officer, hey, how much should a 20-year or 15-year cost? You'd be surprised, and you could save off 15 years of your mortgage by paying an extra couple $100 a month. Ask, is debt actually a wealth-building tool? Debt with a plan is good. Debt for the sake of having debt, horrible. Should everyone try to own a home? Absolutely. It should be your number one priority outside of school. Is Dave Ramsey wrong about credit cards? Look, I don't know what he says, but use credit cards for two reasons. One, to protect yourself on online purchases, or to prevent yourself from getting hacked, right? If you have a debit card and someone gets a number and spends $5,000, good luck getting your money back. On a credit card, you dispute it. The other thing to use a credit card is, sure, there's points, 1, 2, 3% cash back, but it's very important that you pay your credit card bill off every month. In fact, you should pay your credit card bill off every time it's big. Just pay it off. If you're in a position where you can't, then don't use the card, period. I don't know what Dave Ramsey said. Is being debt-free overrated? I think being debt-free is underrated. However, debt can be used as a tool for growth if you have a plan. Otherwise, don't do it. Is financial independence, retire early, realistic or fantasy? I think it's very realistic if you make it a priority. If you wake up every morning saying, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get close to the goal, sure. But if you let it slip, then of course, it's not easy. Are emergency funds obsolete if you have credit? Absolutely not. That's irresponsible. No offense. I wouldn't even ask that question. Absolutely not. You should have 6 months of your security fund, period, end of discussion. 12 if you want to roll it a little bit more and have a little bit more safety. And after that, you should have investments. You should not bank on credit for an emergency fund. Is leasing cars financially dumb or misunderstood? It's financially dumb. I'm a licensed car dealer. I'm telling you it's financially dumb. Very, very, very few. I can't even think of a logical place where you'd lease a car. Unless, even if a company's paying for it, they're probably paying. Just don't lease a car. Buy a used 2008 Corolla with 70K miles for $8,000 that was grandma's car and run it to the ground if you wanted to be financially smart with your money regarding cars. Anywho, should people stop contributing to 401k? No, I think it's fantastic, but I don't think people should only rely on 401k as a form of their retirement. You should have multiple streams. Is index fund investing too crowded? No, I don't think so. I think index fund should absolutely be a pillar of your investment. Is diversification overrated? Absolutely not. It is 100% underrated. People are not diverse enough. Is buying a primary residence a bad investment? No, absolutely not. It's probably going to be one of your biggest investments. You should view it not only as emotional, I'm going to live there, but also as an investment. You're tying up money there, make it work for you. Should people take more financial risk when they're young? 100%. It's way easier to take financial risk when you have no kids and no wife than it is when you have 2 kids and a wife. Yes, take those chances, quit that job, do what you want to do with a plan. Don't go throw caution to the wind. Is inflation really stealing from savers? Fantastic. Yes, it really is. If you have 100K in the bank and your inflation rate is 10%, you lost 10% of your money that year. Absolutely. You should not have more than max 12 months of savings in the bank unless you have a plan. Put the rest in investments and make sure they're liquid. Is financial advice mostly hindsight bias? I think it's mostly people who don't know what they're talking about or people who've been through it and have an understanding. Are we already in a recession but just redefining it? Inflation's high, right? And interest rates are high. So I'm not an economist. Is the Fed helping or hurting the average person? Well, when you keep printing money and increase inflation, you're probably hurting people, but it's easier said than done. Do high interest rates actually fight inflation? Absolutely. This is not me guessing. This is scientifically proven. Yes, when you increase the interest rates, then people stop spending. It becomes expensive to borrow money. Let me give you an example that's applicable. If you could buy $1 million house for $2,000 a month, you might be in the market. But if you could buy $1 million house for $15,000 a month, you're no longer in the market. There's a prime example of how interest rates shape the buying of people. Is the dollar slowing down or stronger than ever? Definitely slowing down. The buying power, you compare it to other currencies, it's 100% slowing down. Are wages really falling behind inflation? Probably. I think not all raises rise at the same rate. Is capitalism broken or just misunderstood? I think capitalism is capitalism. So I think it's the whole purpose of capitalism bases off greed, right? So it's doing what it's supposed to. Are corporate profits driving inflation more than labor costs? No, I don't think corporate profits are driving inflation. Is housing affordability a policy failure or a market reality? I think it's an education failure. I think that kids are not taught in high school on basic accounting things, on credit cards, and on homes. It should be a huge priority. Do government bailouts reward bad behavior? 100%. Absolutely they do. Are they needed? Different question. But do they reward bad behavior? Totally. If you are, especially, let's talk about PPP loans for a second. If you filed for PPP loans, got a 6-figure check, but also made the most amount of money you ever made in that entire year, then were you really in need of that PPP loan? Yeah, I think they reward bad behavior. Is wealth inequality actually a problem or a distraction? I think it's capitalism. We talked about it. It's like survival of the fittest. I think it's doing what it's doing. Are younger generations financially screwed? No, I think there's more opportunity to make money now than ever. However, it needs to be a priority. It's not just go get a factory job and you can live the American dream anymore. You have to work for it. Is owning an asset the only way to survive inflation? No, it's not the only way, but it's an easy way. If you own gold, real estate, and stock market, historically speaking, those things go up with inflation. So the more assets you have during a high inflation period, the better off you're going to be. Are stock markets disconnected from the real economy? No, I don't think so. In fact, people too often use the stock market as litmus to see how the economy is doing. For example, here's a bad example on why you don't want to do that. If the Dow Jones is at 50,000 and inflation is 100%, and the Dow Jones at the end of the year goes up to 75,000, people are like, woohoo, Dow Jones is the highest ever. Yeah, but it's 50% behind inflation. So I think you should not use it as a temperature to see how the economy is doing. Is crypto a hedge or just a speculation? I had a job in blockchain. I am a huge proponent that crypto is real. I understand it end to end. You should read the white papers. It's absolutely a thing. I don't think it's a scam. My advice, I'm not a financial advisor. Take 1% of your net worth, put it into 1% of your cash. Put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum. If I'm right, you double your net worth. If I'm wrong, you lost 1%. You still have 99. You should be okay. Is the American dream still achievable? Yes, with hard work. Absolutely. Should first-time home buyers get government help, or is that unfair? It depends. Do we want to be pure capitalism? If so, absolutely not. Do we want to help these people out? Yes, but then where's the money coming from to do that? Are mortgage brokers just hidden middlemen who shouldn't exist? No, mortgage brokers are not hidden middlemen. Mortgage brokers are typically salespeople. So they get paid a finder's fee for finding the buyers to whatever bank they are. Are luxury apartments a scam? No, I don't think they're a scam, but I think they have hidden costs. Ask what the maintenance and what the HOA fee is. Sometimes they're ridiculous. Is real estate becoming a rich person's game only? No, but I think getting into real estate is not necessarily easy. If you make it a priority, you can do it. Should investors be capped at how many homes they own? No, I don't think so at all. Is appreciation more luck than skill? Absolutely not. It's research-based. Are appraisal values basically made up? I don't want to get in trouble. Appraisal value, here's what I'll say. Most appraisers want a copy of the contract. Why does the appraiser need to know how much you paid for a home to determine its value? Is date the rate, marry the house terrible advice? No, not necessarily, but here's my advice with date the rate, marry the house. You should first of all, don't do an APR, right? Especially if you're stretching. Make sure that you're comfortable with what that monthly payment is. If the rate drops and you refinance, don't take cash out unless you have a good plan. What you should do is shorten the length of that term and hopefully lower your debt sooner. Are new agents flooding the industry and ruining it? No, most agents suck anyway. There's not that many agents that are coming in. I think the average agent, 80% of agents sell 0 homes. So just because you're a new agent doesn't mean you're going to sell a home. If you want to sell a home, get with someone who's competent, learn the ropes, learn how to market, and don't be lazy. Is real estate harder now than it was 20 years ago? No, it's probably way easier. We have online tools. In fact, most real estate agents don't deserve a commission. They don't even find the houses. People go on Zillow and send a listing. So no, it's definitely much easier now than ever. The better question is it going to be around in 20 years? I don't know. That's a better question. Are builders cutting corners more now than ever? When they have the opportunity and they have the right incentive and they're not necessarily caring about their name, 100%. Is owning property with friends a terrible idea? No, not necessarily. Know who your friend is. Make sure you have an operating agreement. Make sure you understand what's going to happen if you guys aren't friends anymore. Make sure you understand how each other's thoughts are. So no, I own property with friends. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but it can be. Should cities force multi-family housing? No, absolutely not. I think it's cities, it's their opinion, it's their option. Is real estate still a hedge against inflation? Yes. Are low property taxes actually bad long-term? It depends. Is the city underfunded? Do they not have enough money to keep up with the roads and stuff? Then if so, yes. Otherwise, it depends on where they're getting their money. Is home equity being over-romanticized? Absolutely not. I think it's under-romanticized. I think it's underutilized. You want to have your house debt-free. Are renovations almost never worth their cost? Opposite. In general, renovations are almost always worth their cost, especially in the kitchen, primary bedroom, and paint. If you're like, hey, I'm going to build equity by redoing my siding or redoing my roof, unless they're needed, typically you don't get an ROI on those things. Should cities stop approving single-family zoning? Up to the cities. No, but where are people going to live? Is selling without an agent a mistake or smart? Listen, agents are not needed. You need access to the MLS. Without MLS, you're not going to get on all those websites. So unfortunately, an average Joe can't go on the MLS on their own. There are tools out there and software out there that will allow you to post to the MLS. That's going to accomplish 80% of it. That other 20% would come from a competent agent who is able to steer and give you guidance on how to navigate through these waters to maximize the equity in your home. Otherwise, no, you're totally capable of selling it. Are the real estate podcasts mostly fake success stories? here's my challenge. Not necessarily podcasts, but the gurus. You can make a lot of money in real estate. Why would you stop making money in real estate and start a coaching program? Well, either you can make more money in coaching, right? Or because you're maybe not doing as great as you can. I think there's a lot of fakers out there. Take it for what it's worth. Is leverage the reason most investors eventually fail? No, I would say inexperience is the most reason why most fail. Is passive income in real estate a lie? Yeah, rarely is it passive. I'd call it moderately passive. If you have a property manager and you're cash flowing, then even then you might get a call a month, but then it could become passive. But if you're just like, hey, I'm going to buy a rental property, yeah, it's not passive. You're going to get calls at 3 a.m. from a tenant who has a burnt out light bulb. It just happens. Is saving money actually making people poorer? If you have more than 12 months savings in your account, then yeah, you're getting diminishing returns. You should invest in. Should people stop chasing perfect credit scores? Don't mark my word, but I think it's like over 730 or 740, something in that ballpark. You get the highest, best rate you can on an interest rate. So chase perfect credit scores. Have good credit. Is being frugal holding people back? I think finding the perfect deal absolutely is holding people back. If you've been looking for the perfect deal for the last 5 years, you could have bought a really bad deal that's still appreciated opposed to have nothing on your cash. So I think time in the market is better than timing the market. Are side hustles overrated? It depends. What's your side hustle? If your side hustle is painting houses on the weekend in your book, not overrated. If your side hustle is a power washing business that you have online that you never had any business, probably overrated. Is working multiple jobs a failure or a strategy? I think working multiple jobs is very interesting. I think companies are going to have to figure out a way to crack down, especially with the people who get to work fully from remote. What happens if you're a developer with 3 full-time jobs because you're just a savage and you're good at it? You can make 3 full-time jobs. Listen, I don't have an issue with it, but if I was paying someone, I wouldn't be happy if they were only spending a third of their potential with me. So I think that's interesting. It's definitely a strategy. Is lifestyle inflation inevitable? Yeah, I mean, how are you going to change the price of soap? Is budgeting a waste of time for high earners? Listen, there's 2 ways to think about it. The first is, I don't have a spending problem, I have an earning problem, right? The other is, I don't have an earning problem, I have a spending problem. I'd rather have it be the first. If you make enough money, then you don't need to budget. But the average person doesn't make enough money. Most people should budget, and if you don't budget, you should at least be aware of how much money you're spending. I don't think Bill Gates needs to worry about his budget, but the average Joe probably does. Is being cash heavy and actually risky? I don't think it's risky. I think being cash heavy is probably not the best use of your time or money. Are credit card rewards just a trap? I think we talked about that. Is paying yourself first bad advice for entrepreneurs? No, I think paying yourself should be a line item on any mock-up sheet that you make. If you're trying to decide whether something's worth it to buy or not, you should put your profit that you'd like to earn as an expense. Is student loan forgiveness unfair? I'm going to upset some of you. I'm sorry. Don't leave me. I think it is. What about that person? I have a friend. He didn't attend any parties. He stayed at his parents, didn't rent anywhere. And he went to work at McDonald's in the morning shift every morning so that he can graduate debt-free. Whereas I had a roommate who had the most expensive meal plan in a condo and was just debt to get hit. He got to go to every party and got to have all the fun. To have him be forgiven while the other guy wasted 4 years of his life to not be debt-free doesn't seem fair. So unless you're going to credit those people who did pay for it, then it doesn't make sense to me to forgive it fully. Now, I want to go on record because I'm sure I'm going to offend a lot of people. I don't think it's right that at 18 you should be able to commit financial suicide. I don't think that you should be in a position where you can put yourself in debt that's going to take you 30 years to make off when you're 18. So I don't think that's right either. I think something needs to happen, but I don't know what it is, and I'm not a politician. Is college still worth the cost? Tuition's expensive, but I think that 18 to 22-year-old needs to go through that life growing up with peers of their own. If an 18-year-old starts hanging out with a 40-year-old, they're going to do things that they wouldn't have done in that college phase that's going to ruin relationships and stuff. I think that 18 to 22-year-old definitely grows up. I will heavily encourage my kids to go to school. I'll pay for it. I want them to go to college. I don't care what their degree is. I didn't learn much from mine, but I think it's an important time to be on your own. Are financial influencers mostly guessing? I think, look, there's a lot of them. Some of them are great, some of them are bad. Follow the good ones and see what their net worth is. Is net worth a useless metric? No, I think it's an important metric. I think net worth is a huge metric. I care more about my net worth than I do how much money I make. However, make sure your net worth is realistic and make sure you have liquidity to it. If all my net worth is in the Great Wall of China and I can't sell the Great Wall of China, then do I really have net worth? So make sure it's realistic. Is income more important than savings? I think if your savings is more than 12 per month of what you need, then it's useless. You should invest it. Is income important? Absolutely. Income is important. Is early retirement selfish? Absolutely not. However, I don't think you should retire. I think you should find something you love to do and do it forever. It's What's your purpose in life? Should people stop chasing home ownership entirely? No, they should make it their number one priority. Is financial stress mostly behavior or not income-based? I think that's a great question. I'm sure for a lot of people it is income-based. I think for a lot of people, myself for example, we keep moving the goalpost. Hey, I need to be able to buy this house. Okay, now I need to be able to buy this car. Okay, now I need to be able to buy a second car. Okay, now I need this watch. Now I need this. If that goalpost keeps moving, then it does become financially stressful. Is money actually emotional, not logical? I think you should be unemotional with your money, but be logical with it. I think that's fantastic advice, and if you really think about what I said, it actually is really deep. Is inflation a hidden tax? Totally. Are central banks too powerful? I think so. Is middle class shrinking or redefining itself? I think it's redefining itself. Middle class now, 100K is no longer upper class. Is debt the backbone of the modern economy? It is of the US dollar. I don't know if it should be. Is economic stability an illusion? It goes back to that example I had on the Dow Jones. What are you defining an economic stability by? By the interest rate? By the inflation rate? By the GDP? You tell me. That's 100 questions in 20 minutes. Pretty good. Thank you for sticking through. If you did, hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Try. Help me out. If you have any comments or want to challenge me, do it. This is not financial advice. I'm not an attorney. You know, all those disclosures that are supposed to go up there, don't sue me. But I had fun. Thank you guys very much for your time. Stay tuned for more.